Hey there, Helena here. So today I wanted to follow up after the last video that I did around why I think it's terrible advice for you to get right back up on the horse after a fall, after a spook, or some sort of unsettling experience, especially if you are a deep feeler, an empath, a sensitive horsewoman. And I will link that video down below in case you missed it. But today I wanted to actually go a little deeper, continue the conversation, and share with you 3 sort of secrets or steps, if you will, stepping stones to bounce back, to restore your confidence and your connection after some sort of spill, spook, or unsettling experience that maybe has you feeling like you've lost your mojo. And I'm sharing this from personal experience. In case you're new here, I want to take a moment to welcome you to the herd. If you're returning, welcome back. And just to give you a little bit of background around me and why you might want to listen to what I'm about to share. So again, stick with me to the end if you want to learn these 3 stepping stones to restoring confidence and connection with your horse after, again, an unsettling or scary experience. And, you know, if we're being real, like if you've been around horses long enough, that is at some point likely going to happen, right? And so anyway, why you might want to listen to me. 1, I have a rich background in the healing arts as a renegade holistic, a veterinarian of 2+ decades, working with hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands of horses in the horse capital of the world, Marion County, Florida, where I, with my holistic approach, where I integrated acupuncture, body work, energy medicine, all the things that were more natural complementary support, and specializing in equine wellness and performance, because I was looking at the big picture, because I was really tuning into and attuning to every horse and human and the shared field that they actually had, although I didn't realize that I was doing that in the beginning. But after some time, it became clear that that was definitely part of the equation, part of the formula, if you will, to having happy, healthy, harmonious relationship with your horse. And so there's that. Then, of course, I have my own beloved equine companions that have been my sacred medicine over the years and taught and gifted me so much wisdom and blessings and healing and all the things. Especially during a time that I was going through dark night of the soul. They became my, again, sacred medicine in helping me come back home to myself and really heal and transcend from almost a decade of chronic fatigue, anxiety, and depression. Also, at one point diagnosed with chronic Lyme's disease, amongst a host of other quote-unquote labels, which I choose not to own or identify with and never have. And so there's that element. And then, of course, in terms of riding, and, you know, so I have that horse level wisdom, lived, embodied experience from those angles. And then in addition to my own beloved equine companions, even before I actually was in a place to be blessed enough to have my own in my life, I competed and rode on the English equestrian team in my undergrad, and ever since the age 14, when I got bitten by the bug, meeting and riding a friend's horse, I jumped at every chance that I could get to ride and be near the horses, whether it be trail rides or, again, connecting with other horse people or whatever the case may be. If that presented itself, I did not hesitate. Anyway, so fast forward, what I want to share after a more recent period that I went through last year of really intense anxiety and fear that were surfacing for myself as a result of some personal challenges I was navigating, because my beloved indigo happens to be a reflector archetype in the 5 energetic archetypes that I downloaded. I knew at one point, I realized, it was a little slow at the start, but I realized, it didn't take me too long to realize that his unusual, uncharacteristic change in behavior to all of a sudden, spooky, skittish, really very anxious, unsettling behavior that, again, was so uncharacteristic for him and for our relationship. And he's been with me for quite some time, since around 2008 or 9. I don't remember the exact date. Anyway, we've been together a long time, and this was definitely something that was new and requiring me to step into my next level of leadership, or inviting me if I wanted to be the best version of myself as his guardian and his human partner on this journey. And so, as a result of what I learned through that experience last year, and I've been talking about this in a number of my videos and podcasts, so I don't necessarily want to go deep into that story again, but suffice it to say, I chose to level up my embodied leadership by deepening my embodiment work, my somatic practices and nervous system regulation. And fast forward, I can happily report that our relationship, our bond, our connection is stronger than ever before, and that we have successfully transcended that period, which was becoming a thing, which had actually become a trauma loop, and are now doing great, okay? So as a result of all of that, I want to share, and I've had other horses I shared also in my one of my last podcasts around how to build fire horse momentum. I shared the story of my first horse and how we were having some issues. He was bucking and skittish and a lot of trust issues. And I shared about that story. I'm not going to go into it here, but feel free to check out that podcast. I'll try to remember to drop it down below. So anyway, I'm just bringing together my, again, years of collective wisdom and embodied lived experience in the horse world as what I want to call a sacred horsewoman, someone who is truly sensitive, empathic, a deep feeler, and really at the end of the day is desiring to be the human that my horse is waiting for, because I get that horses are literally not only calling us to rise and calling us or guiding us back home, but in many ways, like Carolyn Resnick, the author of Naked Liberty, said, are the gatekeepers of our higher self. And so with that, kind of background, let me share with you, and I have some notes here, kind of 3 steps to restore that confidence, restore that connection, get your groove back or your mojo back after, again, a fall, a spook, a spit, a spill, an unsettling experience that you've had with your horse, or maybe one of your horses, that has you kind of, not in that place of calm and confidence and grounded presence that you want to be, for both of you. And so that first step, and some of these may sound obvious, but this is the way it wants to come through. So the first step is really to connect, to pause, slow down, and connect for yourself. This is without your horse, for yourself. Connect with your body. Connect with your body's overall vibe, the signals, the way you're breathing. Like, can you assess, are you hanging out more of the time in survival or sympathetic state, flight, or fawn, flight, fright, fight, or fawn, right? If you are in a state of chronic stress or survival mode and you're unable to actually relax, and how do you know this? Like, maybe you feel guilty when you go to relax, or you have to get sick, or your body, creates an injury or some reason for you to slow down and relax because you are so disconnected. And I used to be this woman, so no judgment here. So disconnected from your body's signals and messages, and you're overriding them. And maybe you're in hustle mode, and again, survival mode. That's kind of the one and the same thing there, or similar. I want to say there's a subtle nuance, but if you are in that state more often than not, and especially before you are going to meet and greet and hang with your horse, you really want to get honest with yourself. You want to expand your awareness and notice if that is going on, right? That is the first step. Like, really just stop and connect with yourself, connect with your body, and notice all of the pieces around where you are at, again, in your overall vibe, energy, and physical body. Okay, if you're interested in going deeper on this, you may want to check out my Epona's ritual. I have a freebie version coming soon, and check back. It will be down below as soon as it's ready. So, which is a 5-step practice or ritual that I developed when I was going through what I went through last year with my beloved Indigo, to help me do this first step, slow down and connect with my body. Okay, the second step is really starting to implement specific tools and practices as guided to start soothing and regulating and nourishing your nervous system. And again, a lot of this starts before you ever head to the barn, step, through the threshold, the gate, the arena, wherever it is you hang with your horse. You want to be embodying this energy ahead of time first, okay? And so that you can, again, be the human that your horse is waiting for. And yes, when you go be with them, I'm not saying to go be with them, although every situation is going to be different. I know I needed to take a pause from our regular routine again last year when I went through that. And I did pause for a little, but I also switched my routine up so that I was doing my practices, my somatic work, embodiment work, before I went to be with him. Okay, so that part is key. And so, this can look like any number of things. It can look like what I like to call somatic safety breath, which is extended exhales, where the exhale is twice as long as the inhale. And you are, again, soothing your nervous system and letting it know it is safe. There are many other practices that I have in my toolkit, but that's one really simple example that you can start implementing right away if you aren't already. Okay. So that is definitely going to be the second step, is to once you have assessed really where you're at in your body. And, by the way, like, I just want to say, yes, obviously you want to do this, before you go to the barn again and meet and hang with your horse. And this practice just for yourself anyway, before work, before an important conversation, before a presentation, before maybe a conversation with someone that you might be a little nervous about. Like, this practice will serve you, the ripple effect of doing this, and you can do this any other time you feel called, okay, will serve you in all areas and arenas of life. Okay, sidebar, that just wanted to come in. Okay, so we went through our first two steps. And then the third step is going to be, and actually I do want to add like a little, extra credit point to the second step before we go on to the third. And that is, depending on the level of intensity that the experience, so whether it was a fall or a spook or whatever the unsettling experience, maybe it was a riding accident or injury, or maybe your horse got super aggressive and reared up, or whatever it was, okay, that happened. Depending on the intensity of that event, I want you to really check in with yourself, and this can be part of the first step, in terms of, if you even think about that experience without reliving it, but if you even revisit it for a moment or two, can you notice, does your body get constricted? Do you tighten up and get tense, versus staying fully relaxed and expanded in your body? And if that is the case, that's you just doing a little litmus check there. If you are noticing that your body gets tense or constricted just thinking about it, and or you intuitively already know that you have not really processed, metabolized, integrated the energetic imprint from that experience, then, my love, part of step 2 is going to be not only the soothing and the relaxing and the nourishing of your nervous system that wants to come first, so you're creating that somatic safety, but then a next step to that, taking things a step deeper, is going to be doing specific somatic exercises or practices. And I have a few really powerful ancient somatic practices I have implemented that are just so powerful, to start releasing very gently, in a way that you're not reliving the experience, but you are allowing, again, the energetic imprint from that experience to start leaving your body in almost a titrated way, okay? So that it's not this huge kind of shock to your system, if that makes sense. Because when we're dealing with the physical body, it's so dense. We do want to be gentle and mindful and compassionate with the process. And again, that's going to be different for everyone in terms of how connected you are with your body, in terms of maybe how much inner work or even trauma-informed type of work you may or may have not done in the past. So the other piece I want to add to that is that if you have past traumas, that this recent experience with your horse, this recent unsettling experience, has a similar vibe to, it can trigger those past ones if, again, they were not integrated or discharged at the time. And here's where we want to keep in mind that it may take a bit longer to do this energetic discharge work, to metabolize and release it. Now, it doesn't have to take forever, And that being said, it's not a quick fix. It's not a one night stand. And so you want to just keep that in mind. The deeper layers, the further back it goes, all the things are going to influence perhaps how long it might take for you to really metabolize those experiences with regard to the associated energetic imprints. Okay? Hope that makes sense. I know it was a mouthful, but let me know if you have questions or that wasn't clear down below. And then finally, the last piece, or the third step, is really to borrow Pirelli's approach, Pirelli's methodology of approach and retreat, is to, go ahead as you feel guided, when it feels aligned and true and right for you, to start taking the aligned baby steps, maybe, or micro moves towards whatever your specific horse-related goal is. Whether it's performance, whether it's riding, whether it's groundwork, as your foundation, wherever you're at on the journey, it's all perfect and this will apply regardless. But and I'm a big fan of the really, we can't do too much groundwork, okay? And I always, the way I see it, always intend not only that we are continually cultivating that mutual trust, love, and respect, and it's more about the connection than control, and the partnership over performance. What I want to say is that depending on what your specific goals are, like maybe you want to get back in the saddle after a bad fall, right? Whatever that looks like for you. Again, you are going to get to use your judgment, your intuition as to what those baby steps look like for you, what those approach and retreat type activities might look like for you, unless you wanted to work together. Personally, if that's something that interests you, reach out. I do have limited space at this time for some custom support, and that would be starting, actually, I'm enrolling for May. So just to let you know if that's something you're interested in. However, you are going to really decide, what that next step is, and you're going to do if you're not familiar with the approach and retreat, and obviously for the way that he teaches it, to the best of my memory, it's been a while back, you're helping the horse kind of approach that sort of, maybe scary situation, maybe it's, hitting the trail, whatever it is. And you are also retreating when you notice that they are feeling resistance or fear, to allow them specifically to relax and soothe their nervous system and let them know that they are safe, that you have their back, right? Now, in a similar vein, if we apply this to ourselves, we want to be noticing, and this is why I feel doing the work ahead of time for the human first, right? And getting really, really flexing that muscle with our, our connection to our bodies and our nervous system, is that you're also going to navigate your own fear or resistance when you're going to do a thing, right? So it's both of you, and then there is this shared field, right? There's a shared field that you and your horse are navigating, and depending on the unique dynamic, depending on your individual energetic archetype, right? If they're a reflector versus an empath, if maybe you're an empath and they're a alchemist or trailblazer or, leader, right? Those dynamics are going to affect those archetypes, your individual characteristics and constitution are going to affect your unique dynamics of the divine duo, right? Of your partnership. And so that is also another area that I specialize in bringing to the table when I work with you and your horse, so that you have a greater understanding of some of those pieces. And so that aside, you are, whatever it looks like for you, you are going to begin taking aligned action, micro moves, and approaching your goal again. So we use the example of getting back in the saddle, but let's say you're still feeling like, on a scale of 1 to 10, maybe an 8 or 9 out of 10 in terms of your fear and anxiety when you even think about putting the saddle on their back, okay? Never, or stepping into the saddle, maybe you take a step back and think about putting the saddle on their back, right? And you can do a lot of this stuff also in your mind, visually, to help rewire and reprogram, your neural pathway. And again, this is something I can help with, and I am also very gifted channel and also infuse, if you want to call it like spiritual technology, to keep things simple, to help with moving the energy in a way that is going to shift the field for you both. And of course, we always want to start with us, right? As the human, as the guardian, as the leader. But you're both bringing something to the table, and it doesn't mean that we don't get to address both sides. For example, with your horse, if you're a conscious horse guardian, chances are you're doing all the things. You've had the vet out to make sure there's nothing physical. You've had the chiropractor out. You're, maybe you're working with a trainer. Maybe you have them on some nutritional support. Like, whatever that looks like for you and what you're guided to do for this particular horse and situation. Right? Like, I'm not saying don't do those pieces, but what I am saying is, after working again with hundreds and hundreds of my hairs falling out, hundreds and hundreds, if not thousands, of horses and their humans from a holistic approach, which means, again, taking in all these pieces, right? Not just, physical performance. I was taking in all the pieces, the environment, the nutrition, the shared energy, like all the things, right? And so after doing that for many years, and again, the lessons that I've learned from my own equine companions over the years, I can assure you that that shared field that you both have is actually often the missing link to to the approach of bouncing back or restoring the confidence and all the things, right? So, again, to be clear, I'm not saying don't work with your trainer and don't, do all the other things. Yes, be thorough, do all those things. And what about if we actually address that shared field and the energy that both of you are bringing to the table, starting off with you, because you, again, are the leader, right? You get to be the human guardian and leader in the team. And this is where I think that where I have evolved to in my soul's work, from the renegade vet for a couple decades to these days what I'm calling myself the equine mystic and soul guide, is from a place of really honoring that your horse is the gatekeeper of your higher self, and in some unique way, depending on how they're wired to channel energy, they are here to either guide you or teach you or, help heal or alchemize, or whatever their unique approach is, reflect, right? You still get to be the leader in the journey, because I think it's our divine duty as the human in the team, if that makes sense, right? In the partnership. And so anyway, I just to give you a quick recap before I go off on a tangent, as I can sometimes do, the 3 steps to really bouncing back and restoring, like getting your groove back, getting your mojo back, and restoring your confidence and your connection with yourself and your horse, right? Because again, your horse will connect with you at the level that you are connected to yourself. Your horse will trust you at the level that you trust yourself, right? And so those 3 stepping stones are: 1, connect with yourself. Like start, if you aren't already, some sort of daily devotion or practice to connect with yourself and specifically your body and its signals, right? To like not only evaluate and assess where you're at, but then in step 2, as we talked about, starting to soothe and nourish and regulate your nervous system, okay? And then step 3 is going to be to start making tracks, start making movement, even if they feel like micro moves, even if it's just starting out in your mind and envisioning the outcome that you want with your horse and the steps towards getting there, and then noticing how your body feels along the way. You can shift so much energetically in your mind that way, and you will witness that shift in your horse in the 3D as well. One perfect example, and I'll try to remember to leave that link down below too, was with a past client, Laura Lynn, who, as she shares in our little interview, you know, her horses, she has had a small herd, I don't remember how many, but we're kind of like crowding her space, right? And because she's a heart-centered, empathic, and kind woman, horsewoman, right? She really didn't want to resort to like force or anything like that. And we worked together, and after the first session, where during that session, I, along with my spirit team, we assessed and addressed specific energetic imprints in her field, okay, in her body, in her field, and her shared field with one of her specific horses that she was actually focused on for our time together. And so we did that energy work. We did the kind of the clearing, the energetic acupuncture to move and shift the energy in her first, but that was going to obviously affect the field, right, that they shared. And then I created a custom audio transmission for her to listen to as guided. And by our next session the following week, like there was already huge shifts in the way the horses were responding to her and respecting her space and her boundaries energetically and physically. And she didn't change anything. She hadn't added any herbs. She hadn't, you know, changed her training techniques. Like nothing else changed other than us working together. And so I want you to know that it is possible for you to, again, restore that connection and that sacred bond with your horse. If you've experienced some sort of event that has maybe had you kind of now in a place of, you know, less confidence, less self-trust, feeling maybe, you know, like your connection with your horse has been affected, and you really want to get that back. And if anything, you want to take it to the next level. You want to make it stronger and more powerful and more unbreakable than ever. And so if that's something, again, that you desire, definitely stay tuned. Come back and check if it's not here when when this goes live. I have again a revised kind of freebie Epona's ritual for you to just get started in this practice and process. And if you have any questions or comments, please feel free to leave them down below. I love hearing your thoughts. If you haven't subscribed yet and you are still here, I don't know what you're waiting for, please do, so I can get this very important and sacred message and mission and work out to more spiritual horsewomen in the world. And give me a thumbs up. And until next time, ciao for now. Namaste. Love you.